Hey students, Mrs. Owings here, and today I'm going to show you how to open up and properly care for the paint studio and some tricks on using your brushes to do some different effects. So here we go with basic paint number 1. At the paint studio, as at all of our studios, there are 6 places, and on the paint studio there is vinyl, so that there are some instructional papers that will not get ruined by the water and the paint. When you sit down, you will see our supply boxes. And on one side, we will have warm color paint in glue bottles, and on the other, we will have cool color paint in glue bottles also. I've rinsed those out to reduce and reuse waste, and also because it's easier to pour paint from those bottles. There are also water cups and paint brushes in here that you will take what you need. Half cup of water, 1 or 2 brushes, and a paper towel. I like to do pump, pump, rip, and of course your project with your name on the back and your class label. When your table is set up, it's time to pour paint about the size of a quarter. Little drops is all you need because I have enough paint to refill whenever you run out. We're ready to make marks, so I dip the tip of my brush in and I can pull brush strokes, making different kinds of brush strokes, long or short, fat or thin. I can take a dot of another color and I can put that dot over the top of an existing wet color. That's wet on wet, and I make an entirely new color. When I want to clean my brush, I paint the bottom of the cup, holding the cup still so I don't tip. I wipe off and I blot on my paper towel. My brush is now clean, and I can also use the handle. Same thing, wash, wipe, blot. You'll see here I'm mixing actually on my table to make a color and practice before I put it on my paper. You'll see different kinds of brush strokes. I can experiment with how I make the marks with my brush. You'll see the dry marks there look dry. They look a little bit hairier textured. And my red paint is dry, so I'll paint over the top. That's wet on dry or underpainting, and the paint does shine through, but it does not mix in the way it did earlier. I'll continue to make marks and experiment with my paint brushes, and I would like you to do the same thing as we open up the Tempera studio today. Please take care that you're not pulling the bristles, and if you want your paint to stay clean and pure, make sure you're not stirring up the paint in the puddles you've poured on your table. You can make a new puddle by taking a little scoop from each puddle. Different brushes make different marks. You can see I'm blending in between some of the wet paint, so I can change the way my edges are. They can be hard or they can be soft. And that's the cool thing about paint. If you use it wet and you use it dry, it gets totally different effects. Now this is not a finished project. This is just an experiment, so you don't have to make it perfect. When it's time to clean up, we're going to follow a different set of procedures, and I'll show you that now. First, I put my paper in the lowest shelf I can find at the drying rack in front of the room. When my painting is put away, I can go ahead and clean my tools, rinsing out my dish with my thumb and washing out my brush by scrubbing against my hand. I like to use a little bit of soap, and this should only take about 10 seconds before I tap off my brush and turn off my water. Now is the time where I can clean my table. I fold my towel into a rectangle, and as it gets covered with paint, I fold it smaller and smaller, using the clean sides and wasting none. That's all it takes.